Kirsty's, and everything that I do in my life will have my fingerprint or my values stamped across it. So we looked at principles and we looked at values over the last 2 weeks, and we also looked at paradigms about what shifts our mind. So how and what do we need to do before we get into the first habit? Well, what we need to do is we need to come up with a mission statement, a personal mission statement. Now, I don't want to know what your personal mission statement is, but when you've written it, it needs to be mobile. So mine sits on a business card here, and it sits inside my wallet, and it's been in here for about 7 years. So my mission statement sits in there, and it contains all aspects of my life, my personal life, my business life, my health and my fitness and my well-being. And that mission statement allows me to set my values. And once I've set my values and my principles, I can then start to live my life outside of those. So if we think about the mission statement of Energy Centric, the 3 core values of Energy Centric's mission statement is accountability, transparency and trust. So those are the 3 core values of the mission statement that Energy Centric does, and therefore everything that we do has those 3 core values stamped across it. So inside your personal mission statement, you need the same core values, not accountability, trust and transparency, but 3 core values which stamp the core inside your mission statement. And once you've got that mission statement, I want you to whiz ahead to this day, and this may or may not upset some people. Let's go with it. So I want you to picture that you enter this room, and it's quite cold and it's quite somber, and as you enter this room, there's tons of people there, and you look over and you think, oh, there's Rob. I remember Rob from Nexus, and you see family and you see friends, you see some school friends, you see sisters and siblings, and as you take your seat, it dawns on you that you're at your funeral. And in fact, you're in the coffin, and this is an out-of-body experience. And there's 4 speakers. So the first speaker happens to be me. And I speak about how you were at Nexus and how you were for business and what you did and what you didn't do. And the second speaker is your partner, and he or she talks about how you were as a husband or a wife. Third speaker is your children or grandchildren, and they're talking about how you were and what you did and the weekends and how you achieved what you achieved. And then the last one is your best friend. So that gets me a bit choked every time I do it. So now if we wind the clock all the way back to 2015, without the mission statement, none of those 4 things could happen. And we're going to be learning in one of the habits about the end in mind. But I wanted to give you that story today because it's so easy, isn't it, to go from day to day and not think about it, but it's going to happen to all of us. And how we are spoken about and what we are listened to at that particular point starts today. And that's why the mission statement is vital. So I asked for a little bit more time because I just need to get this message across. So once we've got our mission statement and we've got our values, and the first thing we should do is we should share those with the people that are closest in our lives, because it's important that the people inside our lives know our core values. And for me, when I changed some of them, which is my health and well-being and the ability to drop what I've dropped in weight, it was important that people understood that. My business people understood that, my family understood that, and my spouse understood that. So we need to share that mission statement. But then we need to start living it. And the last story that I want to give you before we move on is I want you to picture a classroom. Some of you have heard this story before, but let's do it again. So picture a classroom, and the teacher puts out a bowl, and the bowl can be as big as whatever bowl we visualise it to be. And underneath the table, he puts in these massive rocks. So he puts the rocks inside the bowl, and he says to the class, "Is the bowl full?" And Johnny says, "Yes, sir, it's full." And he goes under the table and he puts pebbles inside, and the pebbles fall between the big rocks. "Is it full now, Johnny?" And Johnny goes, "Yes, sir, it must be full." And he then goes back out and he puts sand in, and the sand fills all the little spaces. And of course the class now are wise. So when he says, is it full again? He goes, no, it's not full, there must be some more. And you're right, he puts the water in. So he says to the class, and here's the message, he says to the class, he goes, so what did we learn? What did we learn from this? And he said, and Johnny stands up and goes, we learnt, sir, that we can always put more into life. And he said, no, that's not the lesson. The lesson is that if you don't start with the big rocks, if you don't fill your life with the big rocks, then when the little things happen, there's no room. So going back to the mission statement, part of the mission statement, you should then have some big rocks. So the big rocks for me personally is 16 hours in the gym. Now some people say to me, how on earth can you do 16 hours in the gym, run an energy company and be a father and be a partner? Well, the point is there's 168 hours in the week. So because it's a big rock, because it's important to me, and because my health is important to me, then that is firmly in place. So I double up on certain days, and because my family are important, I go to the gym at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning because they're asleep, and therefore I'm not impacting. So putting the big rocks in place is vital. And for work, there's big rocks. Nexus is a big rock for me. And in fact, doing some work around Nexus is also a big rock inside my week. So there's two things. This is the challenge for this week. The first thing is the mission statement. Of course, you don't have to do this. This is not War and Peace, but go with it. First thing is the mission statement. Write your mission statement. Share your mission statement with somebody that you love. And then the third thing, when you have that mission statement, get your big rocks in place. So we know for Lee, I don't know Lee very well, but I guarantee a big rock for Lee is holidays. Without a shadow of a doubt, he puts them in his calendar. He puts those in his calendar before anything else during the year, because that's his rock. It ain't for me, but it is for him. So his mission statement, his values, his whole demeanour is around there. So at his funeral, somebody is going to mention the fact that he's on this ski holiday somewhere. Who knows? And that's not knowing the man very well. But the point I hope is coming across. So that is it. That is the prelude for the 7 habits. And next week we're going to explore number 1. If you don't do this, then you're still going to enjoy the 7 habits, but they won't mean as much as if you did this exercise. Have a go at it. If you want to share it with me, share it with me. If you want any help with it, then I'll help you by all means. And there we go. Almost there. Thank you.